Do you experience inner groin or hip pain? Although I'm not going to be doing in-depth hip mobility exercises on this one, I'm going to be targeting and talking more about your inner groin that's leading to your adductor complex and how to release and strengthen them so you don't feel any more inner groin pain. And this routine is also great for those who want to develop more flexibility in your inner thigh and groin area, like these splits, and to minimize pain and injury in these areas. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into the first part of the video that I always start with. It's gonna be either your foam roller or with your roller balls. So it's gonna look exactly the same, but we're gonna go ahead and come into a half tall kneeling inner adductor release. So we're gonna go ahead and position your balls or your foam roller in the inner portion of your thigh. And again, you can kind of find a good position with the opposite knee. You can kind of find it in a bent position, or if you'd like to find more of an extended position and coming into this, I'm gonna turn to the side so it's a little bit easier to see, but you're gonna keep it into extension and finding it this way. But regardless of your opposite leg, you want to make sure that the working side leg is an extension. And again, finding your palms down onto the floor here and coming into a beautiful stretch and release for your inner thigh. So again, holding yourself up in a palm distance position, or if you'd like to come out of that, if you have sensitive wrists, you can come down onto your forearms. And from here, if you feel comfortable here, and you can always hold it in a static position for 30 seconds. If you have a little bit more to offer, you can lift that leg off of the floor and then bring it down. Exhaling to lift off the floor, and then inhale to bring it all the way back down. Beautiful work, everyone. But if this movement is a little bit too sensitive, again, you can just stay in this position right here. And again, if all the way to the back for the leg is too intense, you can come into more of a kneeling position. It's going to be exactly the same, just with that knee in that bent position, and you're still getting that inner thigh, groin, beautiful stretch and release. And again, why we do foam roller is because we're bringing blood flow back into the area that you might have pain or even tension or some kind of strain. So it's a really, really good idea to just bring attention into these areas so that you can bring the movement after we bring the blood flow back into the area. And this is extra credit, but you can do your quads if you'd like. It's optional, but you can do one quad at a time, or you can bring both quads onto the foam roller or roller ball, and you can do flexion extension as well. If you'd also like to incorporate some nerve flossing techniques, y'all can come into a position of your back hip onto the heel. You can use something like a yoga block to support yourself on the side, or you can bring your arms to the side, supporting you on the floor, where you can go ahead and move the leg side to side. So this connects with our sciatic nerve that runs down all the way in the back of the leg through the hips and the glutes and the low back. So for some people, this can relieve some pain in the inner groin. So you can feel free to do these, again, 8 to 10 reps, working up to 3 rounds. And you can also do flexion and extension here in the same position. Same idea here, 8 to 10. Ideally 3 rounds. And if you'd like to do a little bit further, and if your goal is to do the splits, for example, or get a little bit more flexibility going for you in the inner groin, you can feel free to bring a foam roller underneath your calves here, and you can play around with the depth of how much you'd like to go, but you can go ahead and keep your hands by your sides of the waist. You can have yourself on a block or on the floor and hold for a second, exhaling as you bring your leg out. And then inhale again to bring yourself back into the starting position. Right here, notice that every single time you come into it, notice you can get a little bit more range of motion in your hips. And then the next one I would recommend is doing adductor strengthening drills. So what that's gonna look like is we're gonna use a yoga block or some kind of elevation surface in just a second. The first strengthening I recommend is a inner thigh, groin strengthening and activation drill. So we're gonna be in a side plank all the way onto the floor here. We're gonna lift that bottom leg off the floor, hold for a second, and then hover off the floor. Inhale down, and then exhaling to lift that leg off of the floor. So you should be feeling a consistent tension in your inner thighs where it meets that groin area. So we're strengthening into, again, the specific muscle groups of the adductors. So again, adductors are the one that are coming in to your body after the aliens abduction out of your leg and they brought it back. So it's adding it back into your body. So that's the muscle group that we're trying to work here. Once you finish the side lying adductor raises, we're gonna be stepping things up a little bit. We're gonna step things up a little bit, no pun intended. We're gonna come into a elevation surface, and you wanna keep a slight bend into the knee here. We're gonna lift the opposite leg off the floor. We're gonna come into a diagonal lift, curtsy, lunge, lean back. So again, it's kind of like an RDL where you're keeping your hips nice and back. So you never wanna be tall like this and do it like this. You wanna make sure you hip hinge from the waist, and then bringing your leg back into diagonal line. Hold for a second here, and if you start to lose your balance or anything like that, you can tap your bottom leg on the floor. You wanna work up towards lifting it because you're really gonna feel the adductor complex working here, and then coming back into neutral position, keeping that leg lifted off the floor here, or if you must, tapping it down lightly, but coming back into hip hinge, lean into that beautiful curtsy, lunge, lift, and then back into center. Again, doing 8 to 10 reps, ideally for 3 rounds. And the last exercise for strengthening your groin and inner complex is going to be in our side position, side plank. So it's gonna be more intense, so I saved it for the last one, but we're gonna go ahead and bring yourself back into a tall, high plank position. Now the bottom leg is gonna be the one that's working. We're gonna be bringing that knee down onto the floor, inhale here, and then exhaling to meet back with the other side. So again, starting in this position, or if it's a little too intense and you wanna try it, but do it easy, not easier, but a little less intense on the high plank, you can come onto your forearms and do this version. So keeping your knee bent, lift up, hold for a second, and then hover that knee off the floor here. Inhale down, exhaling to bring your knee up to meet the opposite leg. And again, none of these are easier. They're just gonna be engaging. You're gonna feel the inner thigh working, but it's gonna be so, so good for strengthening that inner thigh and groin area so that you won't feel any more tension and the symptoms decrease. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.